All right, welcome back. So this is a special guest we have for you guys. He was an American Athletic Conference first team selection, finished his career with 20 sacks in 5 years at the University of Houston. It's David Anenih. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
Not much. I'm glad you're joining me here. There's some things I'd like to get to. You played with a couple Miami guys in your career. I'm curious about what it was like to play for Coach Belk, Doug Belk as well. But NFL draft prep, it's an exciting time for a player. What it's like for you right now as you go through this transition from being a college player into a professional career? What's it like right now?
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process right now. It's really different than being in college just because of the simple fact that nobody has to make me do anything, and everything I do is like my decision, is my choice on whether or not I want to, get up and go work out or not. So that's really probably the main thing.
How's that been? How have workouts been since you guys finished since you finished the season? What has it been like? What's your kind of your daily routine like? And also, David, where are you working out now?
I'm working out at MJP in McKinney, Texas. Yeah, and I mean it's been really good. I mean, working with B Mac, Jay Taylor. I mean, it's been really good. I feel like I'm getting better every day at my 40, my broad jump, vertical test, all that.
What's it like? You guys have other guys at Houston. You know, guys that either in the league or going through this process now. Are there guys you're able to lean on, maybe for advice? As you guys essentially doing this to get people that doing it together. But like you said, this is an individual thing at this point. It's different than when you're doing something for winning for the team and things like that, like you did in college.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, definitely, I lean on because we've had a lot of guys go on to the next level from the University of Houston. So I'm leaning on guys like Grant Stewart, who was drafted last year. He was my roommate. Um, Peyton Turner, who was also drafted in the first round last year. So those guys have been asking them a lot of questions about the process and so forth.
So you've got the East West Shrine Bowl coming up February 3rd in
Mhm.
Las Vegas. How much are you looking forward to that? And these senior All-Star games are always so big. Another way to showcase yourself in addition to the work you put in during your career.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I got the invite in November. So I mean, it's something that I'm really looking forward to going there, showcasing myself, showcasing my talent, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I mentioned at the beginning, you've been a guy that's been done well pass rushing and things like that. Where do you kind of, I know you play there on the edge, but NFL's a little bit different. Is there some position flexibility with you? You think where you might be able to fit in at the next level?
Um, I would say, I mean, for me, I would love to play like that 3-4 outside linebacker spot. Um, I feel like that's where I would fit in the best. But I also did play D end in college. So my first 2 years in college, I played outside linebacker. But then I ended up playing D end when our new coaching staff came in. So I mean, those two, I can play 4-3 and I can play 3-4.
Are there NFL players that you feel like a similar game as yours, or guys you like to watch with skill set wise, or anything like that that you've been trying to pick up on for your own game?
Yes, Von Miller. I watch Von Miller a lot, just the way he bends, the way he moves. I mean, similar body type to me, 6'3", 250. So he's a guy that I watch a lot.
Yeah, you touched on a new coaching staff, and I'm curious with Coach Doug Belk as your defensive coordinator there. Uh, I guess it's essentially. I mean, you guys had a really good year this past year. You guys go 12-2. You win your bowl game against Auburn. Top, led the conference in total defense, sixth nationally. Ranking well in both against the run and the pass. I mean, you guys had a really good defense this past year. With Coach Doug Belk, just kind of from your point of view, what makes him a good coach?
I think for Coach Belk, it's just his relationship to players on the team. Like he's a players coach. You know what guys would call a players coach. He's definitely a players coach, and I feel like just the way he relates to his players is what makes him so special as a coach. I mean, he knows all of our abilities. He knows what all players do best, and he caters to that when he calls the defense. So I think that's what's really special about Coach Bell.
Yeah, you touched on his interactions and connections with players. Do you have a good example of that, David? That either something you personally or something you witnessed or something that he did that makes you feel that way?
Yeah, so it was one game against South Florida. We were playing them, and they were backed up. It was like I think it was third and short or something like that. So we have the three technique that was in the game at the time at Elias Bell. Coach Belk, I think he purposely slanted our three technique to go inside and go make a play just because he knew the personnel that we had on the field at the time, and he knew uh, basically just the ability that our three technique had at the time. He just believed that he could go and make that play within that certain situation. So it's just stuff like that just makes him a special play caller.
Yeah, and I touched on the stats. Again, you guys are ranked amongst the best defenses in the country this past year. Obviously, you're a big part of that. Was there something game preparation wise? You touched on having a firm grasp on player abilities, but was there something game prep wise that you felt like he was doing that made you guys even more confident going into each game?
I would say, every week we just talked about being ruthless. That was our motto on defense. He instilled that in us from in fall camp in the summer before the season even started, just to be ruthless. Every play out there, we're going to be ruthless. We're going to be a ruthless defense. And we took that on, every week, from week to week, every game, and we just instilled that, and that was our mentality going into every game, to be ruthless.
So you said he's a players coach. I'm curious about the dynamic because again, a defensive coordinator is obviously trying to get the most out of you guys. How does his personality kind of go with that? Because obviously he's going to be demanding as a coach as well. But
Right.
yet, you touched on being a players coach too. Just what was that balance like with his coaching style?
Yeah, so Coach Belk, he was a guy who, you could go up to him, you could talk to him about anything, someone that you always felt comfortable around. Playful dude. Um, just a guy who's just a really personal person who we all felt comfortable with, but we all knew at the same time he was still our coach, and he was somebody to, of course, be respected. So he just had the perfect balance of being really personal, being also just not being our coach, but being like our somebody that we could look up to.
Yeah, and I touched on the defensive stats, but again, you guys win 12 games. You're not doing that without, being able to score points as well. What were practices like, either with the defense, the competitiveness, or just anything from practices that stands out to you, either particularly this year, but just kind of uh, during your career, just these last few years with Coach Belk there?
Yeah, so practices. Because of course, like you said, winning 12 games. There's no way you win 12 games without being good on both sides of the ball. So practices that sometimes will be back and forth. Offense will win the day sometimes defense will go out there and win the day. So practices between us were really, really competitive.
The You touched on communication. He was a guy that you felt like you could go up to, or whatever. Do you have something in mind that stands out to you about his communication skills, and either being able to talk to him or just the way that maybe expectations that he had for you guys as players?
Right. Yeah, there's many times that I've just seen his coaching style as a coach with us. Whether it be practice or in the game, whenever somebody would mess up on something, he would go up to him. And he wasn't like, the typical coach who would, rah, rah, yell at him, all that. He would go up to him, talk to him in a good, calm manner. And I feel like as a player, that works out more than, having a coach come up in your face, yelling at you and stuff like that. So it's just many occasions that I've seen like that with Coach Bell.
And obviously you've been around, different coaches and different styles, and there's a lot of styles that can either work or not work or whatever it might be. Uh, I'm curious. He was a guy with obviously, specialized in the secondary. That's kind of where he's made his mark. But before being that coordinator, how did he kind of handle you guys in the front seven, either particularly the defensive line like yourself, or just kind of that front seven, in addition to his knowledge and his work that he was able to do in the secondary?
Yeah, so during practices, he would be all over the place. He would be with the D line at one part of practice, and the next part he's with the linebackers, and then at the last part of practice he's back with the DBs again. So I think he did a perfect job of just balancing out. what position group he'd be with. And I mean, I just think he did a great job with that.
And obviously you weren't recruited by him, but did you hear any recruiting stories of the guys that came in, the younger guys? Did you hear anything about how he was as a recruiter or anything like that at all?
I haven't heard any particular stories about that, but I mean, coming in, everybody that I've heard of, I mean, everybody loved Belk.
Yeah. I'm curious, kind of going back on your journey as a player. Obviously, I mean, you just weren't a highly regarded recruit coming out, and now with what you've been able to do over your career, putting yourself in a position to be a professional. Uh, what do you attribute your success to, David, over the years, your development from when you left high school there?
I would attribute my success to just how hard I work and the work that I put in over the past 5 years being at the University of Houston. I mean, I've had great coaches to help me along the way, to help me develop and to grow, not just as a player but as a man also. So I would say just the hours and the time that I put in.
I touched on you got some Miami ties in the sense of a couple former teammates end up at Miami. Jarrid King and Jarrid Williams. You played 3 years with those guys. Jarrid King, do you have a good story about him? What it was like having him as a teammate, and obviously different sides of the ball. So I'm curious there, but obviously a quarterback, one of your leaders. Do you have anything that stands out to you? A good Jarrid King story?
I mean, there's a lot of Jarrid King stories. In particular, I think it was my sophomore year, 2018. The year he had a really, I think it was 2018. He had a really good year at Houston that year. I mean, 50 touchdowns, I think it was. I mean, that whole year, just watching him play every game. I mean, he was a Heisman candidate that year. Just to see him just play all those games, to see him do all the things that he did. I mean, it was just fun to watch.
Yeah, and then Jarrid Williams, offensive lineman. I assume you had
Yeah.
some battles with him
Yeah,
at times. What was
yeah.
that like?
I used to whoop him every time, man.
Would he say that?
But he wouldn't say that. He wouldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely my boy. Jarrid's my boy. I still talk to him to this day. I mean, I talk to him all the time. So yeah, that's my dude.
Yeah. Kind of going back to Derek, you guys going to reunite there. He's slated to go to the East-West game as well. You looking forward to doing that?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing that. Looking forward to seeing him there. Haven't seen him in a long time, so that'll be fun.
Did you? And I'm curious, when players transfer, again, you guys are focused. You're focused on your current team. Did you pay much attention to how those guys were doing at Miami at all?
I did pay attention to Jarrid. I paid attention to Derek as well. Whenever Miami would play, I would go check the box score just to see how Derek was doing. Obviously, because offensive linemen don't show up on the box score. But yeah, I was always checking games, keeping tabs on to see how well they were doing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure I know they feel the same way. I know they were checking back, seeing how you guys were doing as well.
Yeah.
So your journey, we talked about that. You're getting ready here. What's kind of next for you, or what's this process going to be like for, again, just kind of going through the draft as you get ready, or what do you want to make sure you're completely in tune with before you get to Vegas there for that East-West game?
I would say my main focus will just be, brushing stuff up in terms of pass rush. I mean, because I haven't played football in a few weeks. By the time I actually practice in Vegas, it'll be a month since I played in the Auburn game. So I mean, just staying sharp, keeping up with just my pass rush, hands, and also staying in shape too. I mean, those are probably the two main things I'm trying to keep up before the game.
That's good, man. No, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of go through a little bit of your journey, talking about some guys here. Best of luck to you as you move along, not just at the game, but continue to train and moving forward with your career. So definitely appreciate it. It was fun talking to you, David.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.